Hey everyone, how are you? This is another Heroes podcast today, and I have a wonderful man here, Darren Saul. How are you today?
Very well, Andra. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so excited to have you here. I will just introduce you.
Cheers.
Darren is a social media and podcast strategist, trainer, coach, keynote speaker, and a student of human attention. He started heavily utilizing the power of social media and podcasting to build his photography business and was so amazed with the results, he never looked back. He's now a very active social media marketing practitioner and podcaster who consults with organizations to help them serious business results integrating social media and podcasting into their marketing strategy. And he's been inspiring me for a long time with his consistency. Darren, where do we start? Tell us about your journey. How did you
Sure.
end up teaching
Wow.
everyone social media?
Wow. Good question. First of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your kind words. I suppose my social media or marketing journey started, I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, when I started realizing that I had to learn some new methods and some new strategies for how to market my business. I was doing a lot of photography work, and I do a little bit of work in recruitment as well. I'm also a recruiter. And I realized that, things had to change. The world was changing. Marketing methods, traditional marketing methods weren't working as well as they used to. And so I thought there's got to be a better way. And a good friend of mine actually got me on to Gary Vee. I think I've mentioned before. Gary Vee's content. And Gary Vee is very big on using marketing, using digital and using, the new way to market with social media and with podcasting. And I just dived into all his content. I started reading and listening and watching, and I'm still a huge fan to this day. And he just spoke to me. It just made sense. It was the right time. And I started implementing straight away. And so since then, I implemented a podcast. I started implementing a daily practice of social media marketing, and that progressed and got more sophisticated over time. When I first started, some of the stuff that I did was very basic and very, superficial. But, with practice, you exercise that muscle, you get better, you get more creative, you're starting to enjoy it. And it's just been a journey that I've never looked back at all. And it's just been, the results are definitely there. I can definitely say after the last 4 or 5 years of doing it heavily every single day. And it's just something that I really enjoy. And I'm starting to do a lot of work teaching other small businesses and solopreneurs how to execute a strong digital or social media marketing strategy. And I always put podcasting together in that wider social media marketing strategy as well. I think podcasting is incredibly important, incredibly effective, and it's another pillar in that wider social media marketing strategy.
Wow, that's powerful. And what were the three biggest learnings coming through 5 years of journey? Was it?
Yeah, about 5, 6 years. Yeah.
Tell me.
Three biggest learnings. Well, first one that comes to mind is that you can amaze yourself when you start doing something. You'll start learning and you start getting good at things that you never even dreamed of. I never thought I'd become a podcaster. I never thought I'd do so much work, working with digital and marketing on the web using all these different platforms and, putting out YouTube content and audio content, using microphones, learning how to understand the technology around it all. I had never done any of that. So the first thing that I would say is it's amazing what you can learn when you want to, for sure. And it's just a matter of time and energy. And if you really just give yourself over to it, you can really have a lot of fun. You can meet a lot of great people along the way, and you'll surprise yourself. Second thing I would say is be patient. A lot of people think that this journey is very quick to give you results, but it isn't. You've got to take the time. You've got to be doing this for 4 or 5 years religiously. I wouldn't say you have to do it for 4 or 5 years to get results. You'll start to see results within 6 to 12 months. But now doing it for 4, 5, 6 years, I'm starting to get even more results and recognition. And I realize that you just have to do your time. Like, it takes time. Nothing is overnight, and even nowadays, more than 5, 6 years ago, everybody else has jumped on the bandwagon. So the platforms are even noisier than they were before. You have to really make sure that you do a good job. You have to give a lot of people variety, quality, but you have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. So you have to just go through that journey on your own, and you got to really fall in love with the process. I must admit. And the third learning, what would the third learning be that if I had to delve into my subconscious? I think the third learning is also continued passion for change. Things are always going to change. Things were different 5 years ago on the platforms than they are now. Podcasting was different in a way 5 years ago. We're working slightly differently. We're promoting things differently. It's always going to keep changing. So you have to embrace that and be inquisitive and be curious and just go along with the ride. You can't say, I've learned everything I've learned now, and that'll be it. I don't have to worry about it for the next 20 years. Dream on. It's not going to happen. We always have to keep changing. And that's just, if you're in business these days, you have to embrace it. And I was never great at embracing change. I'm still not, but I realized that I have to. And so I'm getting better at it.
That's powerful. I was just talking to a business owner the other day, and she said a few years ago, she thought she's already worked it out, how the business is going to perform long term.
Yeah.
I said, what are you talking about?
Not so easy anymore to predict.
That does not exist.
Yeah.
The other thought I had, like my mentor says, have fun, which is F-U. It's pretty much fuck up.
Yeah,
because
I love it.
That's the way to have fun and then see what works, but is not.
I agree.
So who are you helping? Like, what is the typical, if there is a typical niche or kind of client that is absolutely the one to help?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Like a lot of people these days are realizing this now, the fact that they have to change the way they market their business. There's a lot of solopreneurs out there building businesses, smaller, even more established businesses and larger ones, that are all realizing that the dynamic has changed, the attention has changed, and they realize that maybe what was working so many years ago with print advertising or with traditional advertising or with cold calling or with letter drops or with whatever else, they're not getting the same results. And the answer is definitely social media and digital. I mean, look how much time we all spend looking through our phones all day long on all the different platforms. We are constantly glued to communicating throughout these 5 or 6 or 7 different channels. And so I try and help customers start to really understand how important it is and start to build content and build a strategy around what they're doing to market their business. Because a lot of people also think, oh yeah, great, I'll just jump on social media. I'll start posting a couple of things here and there and I should be getting results. Great. But they don't have a strategy. They don't know what they're doing really. They don't even know how to create content in different forms. They don't have no idea how to measure in a way, and you don't have to measure, very analytically. I'm not big into too much analytics, but just a little general insight into how things are doing. So I'm trying to really help people with a strategy, build a strategy that is robust and long-term for them to really build their brand awareness and build awareness for who they are as well through social media and podcasting. I think that's so important. So it's, a lot of people are in this renaissance period now where they have to move their marketing in a different way to continue to get the same results, and they don't know where to start. So I'm kind of help people start to put a framework around what they should be doing every day on social media and podcasting to build that awareness.
Yeah, that powerful engine that then will create probably interest and leads, right?
Yep,
Uh,
absolutely.
so what's happening when someone reaches out to you? Do you give them some of your time to kind of pinpoint the gaps and the holes in their machine?
Yep, definitely. Like first thing I'll do is I'll jump on a call, and I would love to understand where they're at the moment. They might already be doing a lot of the stuff that I would recommend, but I'd like to just really understand where they're at in the journey. Some people have adapted or embarked on a journey to a degree, but haven't really taken it further, or they would like to do more video, or they might want to do more audio, or they might want to do better marketing with graphics or whatever else. So I really want to understand where they're at, what they've used so far, what tools they've used, and where their understanding is, where their sophistication is, and then I'll kind of help them either with a roadmap, like with a course, where I can actually help them get to the next level, or I might just do a strategy session. Some people just want an hour or an hour and a half of time for me to give them lots of ideas, and then they can think, oh, that's a good one, and then they can go home and decide which one they might want to implement. So I'm happy to work in any different way, but it's just really to take where they're at the moment and try and give them a step forward to move that even further.
Wow. So there's total flexibility on
Yep.
your end to
Total flexibility.
support them any way that they need you, right?
Absolutely. Yep. I agree.
And have this brand, the Doctor of Self-Worth. Has ever been a time in your life previously where you felt powerless, or where you felt that lack of self-belief, lack of self-confidence to really move on and show up the way you've wanted?
I'd have to say that I've been very lucky. I'd say my parents brought myself and my brother up really well, and were incredibly supportive, and really built our self-esteem from day one. My mum and dad are excellent in allowing us to grow up with a strong self-esteem and strong confidence. So I can't say that I was ever really, I had an issue with self-worth. But a lot of that, I would say most of that is due to my upbringing. And, and the other, when I do come across a time where things didn't go as well as I wanted to, or I didn't get the result I wanted to, I always just kind of reflected on that. And I thought, okay, well, that didn't work. Why? What can I do now to fix it? How can I change? What should I do? What other avenues are there? How can I grow? How can I learn? What am I not doing? Let me learn from some other people. Let me get some ideas. Let me, try and look for other examples. I never had an issue with to say that I couldn't do it. It was just a matter of how to do it and when to do it. And if I had to just take the time to learn, I would do that.
Wow.
I've been very lucky in that respect, I must admit.
This is amazing. You're one of those few people that I come across who actually had amazing parents, who've been able to create a map in your head where there is a setback, because setbacks are everywhere. And the first question is not the usual one, which is, why is this happening to me?
Yep.
Or what's wrong with me? And of course, that leads people down to the rabbit hole. They
Yep.
will find all the disempowering explanations and stories from the past. But you are actually able to empower yourself.
Yep. And I mean, I listen, like my daily practice at the moment is listening to a lot of great podcasts, a lot of great audiobooks. I've read in the past loads of great self-development books as well, before digital was around. So I was always diving into self-development. It was something that I was passionate about. And I suppose that also molded me in a way, because I learned that the choice is mine. You know, it's not, I don't have to play the victim. The choice is mine. And I just have to apply myself.
And I'm wondering, how far did you go back to self-development? I'm just
Yeah.
out of curiosity.
Oh, of
Did
course.
you
Yeah.
listen to CDs? Did you listen to those tapes that I
I did.
used to?
I,
You
I
did?
I listened to. I didn't. It wasn't tapes, but it was CDs. I remember I used to be driving in the car. I used to work as a sales rep many years ago, and I used to be driving in the car with my CD in there. You know, listening to Wayne Dyer,
Yeah.
Deepak Chopra, Louise Hayes, and then again, I started. One of the books that my father gave me many years ago, which is still one of my favorites, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Sensational book. And I've read many others. You know, Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And throughout my journey, I've always been reading and listening to CDs, audiobooks, reading physical books. I was a terrible reader when it came to fiction, but if you gave me one of the self-development books, I could read it really quickly because that was just something that spoke to me. You know, nowadays I'm really good with listening to audiobooks, so I can listen to fiction. If I don't do that much, but to get me to read a book, a fiction book, it would take me like, who knows, 6 months. But so I used to listen to a lot of that stuff, and it would just further cement, try and just instill positive energy and the positive perspective. And I suppose that helped me as well. You know, when I came up against certain obstacles, I would think, all right, well, all this stuff is what I've been hearing, so I better apply it.
Amazing. I can picture you sitting in the car and
yep, listening to all those guys, Tony Robbins,
yeah.
Stephen Covey. I mean, I've read it all. I've seen and read lots of stuff. Not all, but I've read a lot.
Did you have trouble changing the CDs? I remember that I was like flapping around, driving, trying to change the CDs.
Yeah, you had to pull over, change the CD. Sometimes you had to have, sometimes you had a 3 or 4 in a case, so you had to get the second one out, third one out.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
So
But it was good fun, I can still picture it now. Driving in the country on a highway, no one around, listening to this kind of stuff. It's like what you see in the movie.
Yeah. Is this driving was connected to the sales position?
Yes. Years and years ago, I used to work as a pharmaceutical rep. And I used to work in rural areas like once every 6 to 8 weeks. And that was when I used to do a lot of my driving and listening while I was on the road in the country.
I mean, you can't really ask for more, right? If you're a personal development junkie, and this is why I was driving trucks.
Yeah.
Like someone is paying for you to drive around on empty roads.
Yeah.
Listen to whatever you want.
Brilliant.
This is
you can't get better than that. That's the gift.
So amazing.
Yeah, so definitely.
So if someone is watching or listening to this podcast, then what is your next level jump? Like, what is the goal that you are pursuing these days, or who do you need to connect with?
Good question. I mean, basically, I'm just, on this journey, and I want to continue to just to work in the field that I love, and this is just a field that I really love, because it's also based on marketing is very much based on psychology and human interaction. I've always loved observing people, watching interaction, watching behavior, trying to understand what makes us tick. And so I think I just love this field. And so I'm just going to continue doing this, with whoever wants to work with me and just see where the journey takes me. And I'm sure it'll evolve as technology evolves as well. And just, see what the next avenue or the next progression will be, but it will always be based on the same type of thing.
Wonderful. And is your business fully online? So you could actually help anyone, anywhere in this planet?
Yep, absolutely. Yep. So I do, like, a lot of my work is done through Zoom. If people are local, I'm very happy to sit down with people and have a coffee, or do a little session, which I've done before. But if people want to work with me from overseas, no problem at all. Or interstate, with pleasure. I do courses. I run courses one-to-one, just with me or with a small group, all on Zoom. I give you course material and handouts, and walk you through my strategy and walk you through some of the things that I do, just to give you a sense of what can be done. So yeah, definitely fully remote. There's no barriers to work with me, really.
Well, it really prompts the question then, have you ever considered moving to exotic places?
Well, I mean, I love living where I love. My family's here, my friends are here, so I don't think I'm going to be moving anywhere to live, but I love holidaying, and wherever I go, I take my laptop, and my work just comes with me, so I can work from anywhere, wherever, and always open to working wherever I am. That's the beauty of technology, and I think it's just so powerful. It's just opened up the whole world.
Mm. And what is on your list? Like, where are you going next? What are the three things?
Well, I
Places?
mean, I'd like to go to the Gold Coast. I haven't been to the Gold Coast in a while with my family. I'd like to do New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand.
Never been to New Zealand.
Never been to New Zealand, so I'd like to do a little road trip around New Zealand. That'd be nice. And then I suppose when I'm ready, when I'm comfortable, I like to go and do a bit more Asian or Europe holidays, because I haven't been to that part of the world for a while.
Wow.
Yep.
The time is probably soon.
Yep, I'd say we're getting there. We're getting there now.
After the lockdowns, yes.
After all the lockdowns, after the last few years.
Yeah, we're very excited. We have
I love traveling. I love traveling. I love, meeting people and talking to people from all over the world, watching them, studying, what makes them tick, studying their culture. I love to photography. I'm into photography. I'm a photographer, so I love to do street photography. And one of my favorite pastimes is just dropping me anywhere in the middle of nowhere with my camera and a couple of spare batteries, and I will photograph all day long, just wander around. And that's the best way for me to really immerse myself into a new culture. I think it's one of my favorite things to do when I travel.
And do you use, like, are you traveling on your own?
Sometimes on my own, sometimes with family.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go with a lot of family, and then I'll just go off on my own for the day or whatever, and meet people later on.
I believe that's very, very powerful to not be seen in a culture where you are a unit of foreigners, but you are much more open to engage and be able to connect.
I agree. I love just wandering around, talking to people if I can, giving them a gesture, connecting with people somehow, and it's the best way to really understand a culture. Just wandering.
So tell me one story where this wandering has led you to this strange, unexpected place, which was really outstanding.
Let me think. Well, I'll tell you one story that was a bit of a scary story. As I said, I love to photograph, and I was taking a trip with family in a cruise around South America.
Wow.
We stopped in a place called Santos, which is the port of Sao Paulo in Brazil. And I thought, no problem. I'd heard that it was very dangerous. You'll be very careful to be wandering around on your own with your camera. No one to help you. And I thought, no, I'm going to be smart here, and I'm just going to disappear for the day or for a few hours with my camera. And before I knew it, I had a few altercations with some locals. I ran. I said, this is getting serious now. So I ran to the nearest tourist center. And then just before I got there, I bumped into another guy who was waiting for me. The people that I had met around the corner had already rung, said, this guy's coming, grab him. This guy was some army or ex-policeman, grabbed my hand, put it behind my back, pulling me towards his car and wanted me to take me to some police station or something. And I said, "Oh boy, this is a problem. All my family's on a cruise. They're going to be leaving this afternoon. I'm going to be stuck in some Brazilian jail. Can't speak a word of Portuguese. This is a problem." And finally, I managed to just say, "Wow, easy, easy, easy. Tourist over there, English. Let's just walk there slowly, slow." Finally convinced him to walk with me to the tourist area where some other people were kind of translating, and we managed to quell the situation a little bit. Then I bumped into some friends of mine who had been around, and I just said, "All right, done. Put the camera away. I'm not taking this camera out again in this country." So it scared the daylights out of me. I thought I was going to be smart, but I learned my lesson.
Yeah, I normally use, and it's a hard one when you have a cruise. I normally use Lonely Planet too.
That's right.
The travel spots are normally
Yep.
well described, so
Yep.
it's just enough to.
That's right. And I knew that I could sense the energy and sense the not the danger, but I could sense the electricity of that area.
Yeah.
But I thought, I'm just going to photograph it anyway. I'm just going to take a risk. But that was something that I shouldn't have done.
So listening to that inner voice, huh?
Yeah. So I didn't listen to my instincts on that day, and I learned my lesson.
Are you using that inner voice or that instinct in your work?
Yes, most of the time, yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely. I think trusting your instinct is really important. I think I think your instinct is a combination of your experiences and just that inner voice, and most of the time it's correct.
So tell us one example, like what difference has it made when you listen to your intuition? What was the result or the challenge?
Good question. I suppose you could say that, just doing everything that I'm doing, like just jumping into podcasting. For example, I thought, I'm going to start a podcast. Who am I to start a podcast? What do I know? Who am I to say anything? Who wants to listen to me? What do I have to share? But I did it anyway, and I did it just purely because I love the fun, and I love the journey, and I love the challenge. And 3, 4, 5 years down the track, I'm starting to get a little bit of recognition for the podcast and people wanting to come on the show and really giving me great feedback for what I'm doing. And so you could say that was purely just an instinct that just told me to keep on going and not give up. Because that's the other thing about podcasting is a lot of people will do 5 or 10 or 20 shows and then say, this is not working. I'm going to give up. Nobody's listening. Forget it. But I just keep on going. And even if I don't get a lot of people listening or following, I still do it because I love it. And people start to recognize that over time. And I think that was just an instinctual listening to my own voice and saying, this is what I love to do. I'm enjoying it. It'll pay dividends at some point. And even if it doesn't, I'll still learn something. And I just kept on going. So I suppose that's a good example of just me continuing along my journey purely by instinct.
Yes, what a smart way to think about it. And while you were telling me this, I realized that you have wonderful people to do the podcast with, then this is pure gold, this absolute value, because
absolutely.
it is just becoming a part of a personal development journey.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I can honestly say I have learned so much about so many different topics from interviewing 194 people. Today I'm going to be doing my 195th episode. But I've learned so much about so many things that I could never get that education anywhere else.
Absolutely. I hear you, because it's almost like a whole book. You could
Absolutely.
take or adopt what worked for someone, and you could even direct the questions exactly the way you can really get to the point of things that you are most excited about.
Yep. It's like doing a podcast episode is like having a little mini course every time you do it, because you're talking to another guest who's an expert in their field. and you're drawing on their whole life's experience in that field, and they're giving you the gold in 45 minutes. So how incredible is that?
I mean, and you do it kind of free. It's mean.
Yeah.
You should be paying for it. I should be paying for it
I
too.
agree. It's crazy, huh?
Pretty selfish, right?
Yeah. But that's the whole beauty of collaboration and the new digital world, is that we're all content creators now. We all collaborate. We all want to work together to put out great content to the world, and it's just a win-win.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
I love your attitude. And to be honest, I was seeing your name popping up here, popping up there. So this guy must be really good, because what you said, this social media was actually working. Because I've seen your name, I think every 2-3 months.
Great. Awesome.
Who is this guy? Like,
Who is this guy? This nutcase.
I said to myself, that the green with envy, he must be paying for his ads, and I'm guessing you don't. You
No,
just,
sometimes I do. Like
Yeah.
nowadays on some platforms like Facebook,
yeah.
you do have to start paying a little bit to really get a lot of traction.
Mm.
But on LinkedIn, for example, you don't have to, and you can still do extremely well purely organically. But you can start advertising as well. So combination of both nowadays, and as these platforms get more and more saturated, you will have to start putting a little bit of marketing budget to get these results.
Mm.
But that's another reason why you better start right now. Whoever's out there, thinking about doing this, get involved now. Learn how to do things, learn from your mistakes, grow before you have to start spending money, because then you'll know what you're doing. Like, you've got to earn your stripes. Do it. Jump in right now.
How do you see organic? I mean, pretty much referrals, so word of mouth.
Mm.
Do you see it as a very powerful way to build a business? Do you
Oh
use?
yeah, definitely. Like, I think, like, there's no two ways about it that marketing in the future is going to be a lot of it done on the digital platforms. It's already happened. It's already there. But because of that, and because of the fact that it's so noisy and saturated, word of mouth and referrals are also even more important than ever before, because you don't even know where to begin. So we've got so much choice these days that if we want something, we'll just ask a friend or ask a relative, do you know anybody? And so word of mouth is extremely powerful. So, you've got to be working those two channels at the same time.
Mm. And also I've seen a transference where the person they're satisfied with the service, and of course that energy is transferred to the referral.
Definitely.
So there's a different start of that conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think referrals now are more important than ever before, as well as doing the time to get on the social media or digital platforms as well. Because sometimes you might even get a referral. They don't work exclusively. Sometimes you might get a referral from somebody, and then you might jump on the web or jump on a social media platform and check out the person, and then you'll learn more about them. So they work together. It's not one or the other, but you just don't know where the initial impetus is going to come from. So you really have to be doing both.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So how do we find out more about your business? Where to find you, website, or any kind of contacts?
Yeah, thank you very much. Easy way, just jump on my website, and you can link to everything from my website: podcasts, social media channels, all sorts of stuff. And my website is just www.suspendedanimation.com.au. So you can jump on there, and everything will lead to me somehow.
Powerful. And is there anything else that you wanted to share about, I don't know, tips and tricks for someone who is looking at this social media podcasting world to start off or to take it to the next level? Have you got
Absolutely.
golden
A few
nuggets
things.
for us?
A few things I would say. Look, like, there's a lot of people out there that still are hesitating to dip their toe in for whatever reason. And you might not want to, pay to learn or whatever. So first thing I would say is follow people that you think are very good at what they do, and observe what they do and learn from them. You can learn a lot from people just watching what they do and then copying to a degree and then making it your own after that. And then if you want to take it further and learn and, talk to a strategist, you can do that as well. And the other thing I would say is know that it's going to be a journey, a long-term journey. It's not a short-term fix. There are no quick fixes. You have to do the work, and you have to just do it and fall in love with the process, enjoy it, become creative, and enjoy the creativity, and embrace that, and know that this is going to be here forever. So you've just got to get involved and step up. And you really don't have a choice anymore. Like, honestly, the amount of attention that's on all these platforms is, if you want to build a business and build a brand, you don't have a choice. You have to do it.
Very powerful. But Darren, thank you very much for your time. I will share this across the platforms, and maybe I will grab you for another more specific interview.
Sure.
I hear back questions from the audience to really then expand a specific area of podcasting or social media where people want to learn from you.
I would only be too happy to do that. If anybody wants to know a bit more about a particular, subsection, please let us know, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Andra. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.